Welcome to Wolf Tales, where you'll be hearing stories from our own staff and volunteers here at Wolf Connection. We'll also be speaking with artists, photographers, videographers, and musicians about the way the wolf has influenced their work. Joining us here at Wolf Connection for Wolf Tales, Wes Hutchinson. He's a Grammy-nominated performer, songwriter, producer. Wes, thanks for actually coming to the ranch and hanging out with us for a little bit. I know we were talking before we started recording. You said the last performance you had was March 7th of 2020.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're almost going on a year.
How are you doing with all that? Because I mean, we were talking about it and we're just saying, man, you're right. We're coming up on a year of this whole thing starting. So what's that like for you as a performer to just be?
I mean, it's been a bummer, you know. I feel like I was getting back into, I just moved out to LA before, this all happened and the world shut down, and starting to get gigs, starting to fly back to New York for gigs, and all of that just got shelved. But fortunately, I do a lot of production and I have a little studio, so I stay busy with that. So I'm still doing music, but not in all the ways I want to.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I was looking up your bio a little bit. You sent it to me last night, and you kind of ran the gamut. You went for where are you originally from? Are you from Tennessee, or you started in Tennessee? What was the deal with
from Charleston.
Charleston,
South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you went from South Carolina, go to Tennessee. So what were you doing in Tennessee before you moved to New York City?
So I went to Tennessee because I went to Belmont University, which is where I went to school. And when I graduated there, I stayed for about another year and a half. I had a band there, kind of kept me there, and it was great. I love Nashville. It's like my second home kind of thing. But for what I was doing musically, I think at that time, it's like early 2000s, excuse me, early 2000s, my kind of music was not exact. I felt like it might be better accepted in New York, and I was having more attention there. So plus I was kind of dating a girl that moved to New York. So not that I had anything to do with it. So that's how I ended up going to New York. I just felt like it was a better fit for what I was doing, and kind of had hit that ceiling in Nashville. But learned a lot when I lived there. Wrote with some amazing writers, publishing houses, and played some amazing shows where I played my first shows, all the venues there. So I have good memories and good friends back in Nashville, but that was like 20 years ago.
It's just crazy how like time flies, right? So you were there 20 years ago, and then you go like what? New York City. So you felt like New York City was just the next step in your basically your evolutionary journey for music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I just I was doing the singer-songwriter thing, and I think we'd just done some demos and sent them up to New York. Kind of but up to New York like we used to do in the mail, the real mail.
That's right. Yeah, no, everything's all digital now.
But I made a CD and sent it to the city. And I think we just got a lot more attention up there. I did, and it just felt like the right move. And I was just ready for something new. I kind of, like I said, hit my head on that ceiling in Nashville, where I just felt like I'd done everything I wanted to do there. I don't know why. And I felt the same way about New York 15 years later, but it was a good move because that was really my first, probably 25, and that was my first like real songwriter community at Rockwood Music Hall in New York, where everything kind of launched my New York singer-songwriter career.
Nice. Was there a culture shock for you? Because coming from South Carolina, and then you go to Nashville. It's smaller in scale, and then when you go to New York City, I feel like there's so much to take in, and like you said, to learn and to find these new communities? Or did you just dive right in and it was no problem?
Kind of both. Really, I think I don't know if I intentionally did this, but I think going from Charleston, which is smaller than Nashville, to Nashville for 4 or 5 years, getting my bearings there, and then going to New York, it was better than me going Charleston to New York, right? Because it would have been too big of a move. Such an intense city. But I had been sending my music up there and visiting for a couple of shows. So I think once I had gotten there, I already had started to know what venues to play and kind of who to write with and that kind of thing. So I had a little bit of an in before I really got started. So I wasn't as intimidated as if I had gone at 18 straight to New York,
Yeah, you started building that up a little bit. Like, who were you? What were your writing styles like when you were, starting out in Nashville? And then, did you have particular writing style, or was it just, you were just sort of molding yourself as you were going along when you were
Oh,
in
it's a good
terms of singing?
question. Yeah. I had a band, like I said, in college, and we played all the venues, 328, Exit End, The End, all these. I don't even know if these bars are around anymore, but I was doing more of like a rock thing in college with that band. And I think as what kind of got me out of that is, just started writing more not folky, but like Americana songs on the acoustic guitar as opposed to having Marshall, amps and being as loud as we
You're
could
right.
be. I kind
Yeah,
of went the other way and busted out the acoustic guitar, and that's how I started playing shows. And that seemed to be what got me more attention, I think, in New York, being more like that as far as my sound goes.
that's cool. I mean, and so when you're in New York and you start meeting, I, I like what I don't know, like what's the process when you get to that place of turning from singer songwriter, from singer songwriter performer
Hmm.
to producer, because you like I said, you've run this gamut through your career, and it's you've done all these wonderful things, and you've had music on television shows and
Hmm.
movies, and so in your process of becoming a singer songwriter, and like you said, you went from rock to folk a little bit, like
Hmm.
just in that, in generic terms, what's that shift when you go to be a producer and to be able to wear both of those hats? Is it easier to do that instead of being a producer and then trying to be an artist, or how did you feel that you molded yourself into that kind of a jack of all trades a little bit?
Yeah, I don't think there's a blueprint, but for me, what was really cool, so that actually the producer thing didn't come till later in New York, like 10,
Yeah, that
10
was the
years
10
in.
years in. Yeah.
So for me, it was like moving to New York at 25, playing the scene, meeting with labels, writing, co-writing, making records with other producers. So I was able to like kind of learn from them. Um, and I think for me, I ended up really way before the production, I ended up playing in all these bands. So like I quote unquote played bass. I quote unquote ended up in Thailand playing B3 for an artist on Rock Nation for a month.
Oh
I
wow.
didn't play B3.
Okay.
I mean, I
Nice.
faked my way through, and I could also sing backgrounds really well. So I get hired for a lot of gigs that maybe, a guitar player that could outplay me, run circles around me, could didn't get because they couldn't sing. Not that I couldn't play guitar, but it was, I ended up, so my point is, I went into the singer songwriter thing. The next evolution was playing in other people's bands, learning like just so many songs and trying out, like I said, B3 piano, bass, really anything that I could fake my way through, but obviously good enough to be in the band for. And I think that helped me fundamentally put together different instruments in my head. Like I learned bass tones, I learned guitar tones, I learned B3 tones, I learned drum tones, even though I don't play drums. But I could then kind of put that all into a package. So when I started producing, I kind of knew what sounds to go for, that kind of thing.
This is a question I like to ask sometimes, but how do you define a producer?
Mm. I think a producer has a sound. I think when you hear production, for at least my opinion, you hear that producer behind it. Like if I hear one of my favorite producers is Jeff Lynne, right? When I hear him produce George Harrison, his band ELO, which he started as an artist and went into a producer, Tom Petty, Full Moon
Mm.
Fever. When I hear that stuff, it sounds like Jeff. It sounds like his stamp on it. He just has a thing he does with the guitars and the mix and the vibe and the drum sound. Like it's just his stamp. So I think you're defined by, I would think, a sound.
Do you think it's as prominent now, a signature sound coming from producers? Is it as easy now for you to tell producers apart as it was in the past? For me, there are definitely some producers who I can identify immediately, even now, but it does seem harder than it used to be.
It's harder because people are making music so differently now. I mean, think about the era I come from. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have Pro Tools. Pro Tools was like just getting introduced when I moved to Nashville, and people were still so hesitant to use it. We'd always do like tape into Pro Tools, like just to
Right.
make sure we got the recording.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yes and no. I do like if I hear I don't know, someone like Dave Cobb or some of these newer producers in Nashville or Ryan Tedder. LA, like when I hear that stuff, no matter what he puts his stamp on, I hear Ryan Tedder, like, not that that's my favorite music, but I can hear his sound, whether Beyonce's singing a song or his band singing the song. You can hear that.
Yeah, right.
So I think it's out there. But think about this. There's just so much more content being so I don't think we like in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you really just still had to go into a studio with a band and a producer, and it took 6 months or time, pre-production. Now, I mean, especially in COVID, now we're just flying tracks over the internet back and forth. So more content's coming out. I think some of the nostalgia of recording has been lost because, even before COVID, there were studios were closing down left and right. And, in New York, at least, I don't know about out here, but when I was, looking to move, I mean, Avatar closed down, only a handful of really, studios where you can go record your album.
Right, with live musicians.
Yeah, with the live band, and tape and stuff. Like, yeah, it just didn't exist.
Yeah, now a production room is basically a computer and a vocal booth.
Oh, dude, my studio is in the corner of my living room.
Exactly, mine's in the second room.
And it's yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yours is nicer. You have a more proper. You have a dedicated space. Mine's like across from the couch on the other side. But it works, and I've probably this last year, 2020, made more music. And it's not just because of COVID, but I was kind of on a trajectory when I moved out here to do more film, TV, ad stuff. So it's been the perfect setup. That was my vision, to leave New York and have that setup, what I have now. So I feel like I've kind of nailed it. but with COVID, it's made it even more apparent that I have that set up in it and I can still do music. Because if not, I have a lot of friends, they're live musicians and they're struggling. It's a bummer, man, because they didn't have the setup, and they're just waiting to go back out on tour,
It's crazy because it's like it's like everybody's trying to evolve faster than they probably intended to, right? It's probably they might have had these tracks in their mind that's saying, okay, I'm going to eventually maybe move to this where I have, an in-home studio and I can do all these things. But It's just, you're so used to the rigors of the road, or you're used to the rigors of, oh, this is how I'm going to make my living. And then when it all comes crashing down and it stops, you're sort of left, in the wind and being like, what do I do now? I don't know. And I don't know that as a performer, as a musician, or as, anything in the entertainment industry, but both of you have had to, change the way that you do things. I mean, it's just the way that it's gone. It's amazing how that just sort of takes hold.
And with that said, I think a lot of my friends that have been touring forever, they do have setups, So that has been a blessing in disguise. Like where the drummer friends especially have a dedicated space. Got a couple of guys I can send tracks to, and they send real drums back. But for the guy that didn't have that and was reliant on 9 months of touring a year, is kind of screwed. It's like you don't just buy you do, but you don't just buy an interface and learn how to mic drums in a month. I mean, it's 10 mics. It's a nice setup. It's like, do you have the ear? Somebody always used to mic your drums for you.
Right.
And it's probably a good time to learn it. But I felt like there's a handful of my friends that just were set up for it.
Right. Yeah. And even now, there's a vast difference between executing it and being competitive. I mean, definitely, no doubt music is much easier to make now, but there's still a vast difference between doing it and being competitive, and what gear that requires.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's also forced, let's say, like, I just use drums for example, because to me, if I had to learn that in this last year, it would be a challenge. I mean, it's different than getting a little interface and plugging your electric guitar and getting a fake amp on a VST and be like, cool, here's a Fender Twin. Drums, it's a lot of effort. But I'll also say that, some of those friends have learned programs, and they've learned to program really well, and to a point where I'm like, this is awesome, So I think as long as you everybody's had to pivot this year. I've had to pivot into different genres of music this year that I never thought I would really be doing, ads and stuff. But it's cool. It's still creative, and I'm still, still fulfills.
Yeah, absolutely. So to the pivot thing, this is what's amazing to me about you, Wes, is that whether you probably knew it or not, you were already on the trajectory to be ready for this. Like, did you find, like, this year, you're like, man, this year happened, and you go, oh, I'm actually kind of ready for this in a way that you probably didn't even know, because you were already doing all these different genres of music, and you were taking all this information in beforehand.
Mhm.
And you, I mean, were you, like you said, you've made more music, probably have you made the most music this year, you think, in 2020 than you have in any year?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Just to be like, to put
No,
that in
so you
perspective.
nailed it. I mean, look, I was in New York for 15 years, and the last 3 I worked at this agency, like an ad kind of agency, sonic branding agency, as a producer, not really a writer. So I had done that, and really it was just about New York. I was just done with New York, taking enough trains.
What made you? Yeah, what made you leave? I mean, seriously, what made you leave? What was
I think you have a threshold on everything. You have a
Mhm.
threshold on your trains, the vibe of the city. It's so intense, and I just wanted to chill out. I wanted to take it from fifth gear into second,
Mm.
and I couldn't do that in New York. Just not the way that I was playing on the weekends. I was working 40, 50 hours a week at this ad agency and staying late on the weekends and at nights to produce film, TV music, right?
Wow.
So I was just burning out, right? And I just had been in that place so many times that I finally made a decision to leave. But yes, you're totally right. I had all my rig. I have 20 guitars. I have, all the software now from working at this agency. I learned so much about that yes, my vision pre-COVID was to move, have my studio in my apartment for, however long, and start producing and making music from there. Like I feel bad saying that, because it's like what I've been doing in COVID was what my vision was to begin when I moved, like 3 months before it happened.
Wow.
That was my plan all along. So to me, it didn't, I don't mean this in a bad way, but it didn't really slow me down. I was working for, I had all these monikers that I used for film, TV projects, 6, 7 bands I've been working for like years before I moved. And then I started doing I've been doing a lot of ad work, so for me, I was set up virtually.
Man.
So I don't know. I kind of had a good year, other than my depression and ups and downs with COVID, and not living here for a year and a half and not being like, I haven't done anything. I haven't gone anywhere. Really, I haven't experienced LA. I don't have a reference point right now.
Mm.
But musically, I feel like like you said, I was just set up for it. So I stayed busy.
Man, that's
Very blessed, very lucky.
yeah. I was gonna say. I mean, it's you've were able to fall into it and just sort of, like you said, stay working. I mean, I was lucky that way too. I mean, I basically went from my office. They gave me equipment and said, "Okay, you're working from home." And it's, there have been a lot of people who have really, really struggled, and it's a pain to see that, because everybody wants to be able to do the thing they've been wanting to do. And
Well,
Yeah.
think about this too. I'm 42, so my friends have been doing this for 15, 20 years.
right,
If you're 22, 25, you've been on tour for 6 months, a year, and you're figuring it all out. Not saying that they're not bummed about not being able to work, but it's different when you've been doing this for your whole career,
right.
and then it just shuts down. So those are my buddies that I was feeling for, is that they've been doing it for 20 years,
Man.
not 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Different story.
Yeah, I mean, so you were done. So you're done with New York. You get out here. This whole thing happens, and you're good friends with Merrill,
Mhm,
who's
mhm.
who's part of Wolf Connection, the organization. So you don't have a big lay of the land. So how did you find us? How did you find Wolf Connection and sort of get connected to us in that way?
Well, through
Through yeah.
Ree and Tommy.
But
So I've known them for 15 years. Like, we literally, I'd say 15 years.
did you meet them in New York? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't
So
know.
that bar Rockwood, where I started my New York career, that community, which was a real thing and a very cool scene. Ree was apparently the bartender there for like a week or something, and then Tommy took her job, and then Tommy started booking there, and that's where we all connected.
Okay.
And then later, years later, we became really good friends, started hanging out, and, just as friends, not just at the Rockwood and stuff. So Ree brought me in, and it was really great because I moved out here in October. I left that agency job. I left a band I played in probably 20 weekends a year, like a cool band, and like just left a lot of like opportunity on the table, but I was ready to try a new opportunity. And I knew that if I just took that risk, there'd be a reward. So I and it's starting to happen now. But I got out in October. I didn't have a place. I didn't have a car. I have nothing. And I remember just being like, in October, I was just like, what did you do, dude? You left like, I could walk into any bar, bodega, restaurant. I know all the trains. I played all the venues. I knew everything about New York. Here I am. I knew like, I had some good friends out here, but I didn't know anything. And I was just like, this was a bad decision. Anyway, that month, Ree's like, you should come out. And you and Casey Shea, should play the Halloween extravaganza or whatever it's called. So that's my first experience. And that's how I kind of got involved. And now I've just been coming out with her and Tommy, or, I've played a few different times. But I'll come out and just help with around the property, or just to see the wolves and stuff.
No, yeah, Wes was here building stairs like 2 weeks ago.
Don't give me too much credit.
The trail stairs.
No, he was doing the trail stairs. Yeah, not the stairs.
Those dirt ones.
Well, yeah. Well, because I walked by and I was saying beforehand, I was like, it was him, Tommy, and Teo building the stairs. And I'm like, oh, I was like, I think I know that. No, there's not tough.
Yeah.
They look great, by the way. Well done.
I kind of supervised. I watched Tommy and Teo. It was like, you could tell like Teo was like, Wes, dig this thing, put this over here, do this thing, and I like wasn't doing it right. And he'd be like, no, like this. And then he just never let me do it again.
They're the ones going up from the Creek Cove. So the Creek Cove up to the Fire Road.
Did they call it the Stairway to Heaven or something?
It's something like that.
Something like that. Anyway,
it
turned out really well. I never built stairs, and I don't think Tommy had either, but Teo knows what he's doing. So we did help.
Yeah, you were there. I mean,
we flattened some dirt. I actually, it's funny because the next day Teo texted Tommy and I, because we were shoveling a lot of dirt and physical labor kind of thing. And the next day he's like, "You guys feeling all right? Like, your body's aching?" It's like, dude, I'm fine. I'm good. 3 days later, I like had muscles hurting that I have not even
like I didn't use this muscle
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, using a shovel. Yeah. My hand.
Yeah, it's like the arm pump you get from riding a dirt bike.
Yeah. I was trying to like just work the mouse like on a recording. I was like, ow, click, ow. That was a long intro into how I came out here, but it was really
But that's all. I mean, that's awesome though, because it's just to go back to New York and LA. I mean, they're two different scenes. I would imagine, as a guy who, like you said, you're playing bodegas, you're playing all these different places in New York. Is it more accessible there in New York than it is sort of in LA for the short period of time that you were here and able to kind of figure that out? Or is it roughly the same? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't have that reference point.
Yeah.
It was literally November when I kind of moved into my place.
Oh, yeah.
And then here we are. February, I flew to New York for 2 shows. And I landed here March 7th. And the next week, they're like, everything was canceled.
Man.
I think I would have, just because I've been around for a minute, I think through my, the people I know, connections, whatnot, I would have been playing a lot more for sure. But again, I think part of what I was getting into was doing less of playing and really wanting to put all the energy into production. And that's what I'd done that in New York. I've been on, on and off the road, or, weekend warrior playing stuff and it's just, just kind of done with it.
Yeah.
On that level. So, but I just don't know. I didn't have any reference point this year of like how many gigs I would have played in LA.
Right.
I would think a decent amount. It would have been fun, but no idea.
What is that like for your clarity, your self-clarity almost, to be able to make, because you made, like you said, you made these decisions and you took the leap and landed on your feet and you're set up for success really and to continue working. What is that like for you when you reflect on that, to be like, I made these decisions and I don't know if you look back on, you're like, man, I was ready and I was in the right headspace for all of this to happen for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess some people don't, and I could have been that person, but I think really, I've lived in Nashville, New York, and LA now. So it's kind of like climbing the mountain again, but you already did it twice. And to me, it was like that. Plus, to be honest, I've been coming out to LA for 15 years or so, and always wanted to move here sooner than all my friends. And New York has this love, hate, love thing where you give it like every 3 years, you're like, I hate this place. I'm out. And then something would happen. I would get a tour or I would get a job as a producer full time, someone always keeps you there. And I think my thing was I was trying to come out here in my early 30s. And then after I started that job at the agency and was just kind of burning candle at both ends, I was like, I got to do something. So when I turn 40, I'm going to make the decision to either stay, be a lifer in New York, or to kind of risk it all, and it was worth it. And I had a good, Rhea and Tommy and Casey and all that community out here I had. Wasn't like I was coming out here not knowing anyone.
Right.
So I kind of felt with being in New York and all the facets I worked in, that I had the confidence to move out here and make some stuff happen. I knew I wasn't going to fall on my, flat on my feet, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do either. So that's scary.
Yeah.
That was the first few months where I was like, maybe this was a bad decision.
No, but you survived it. Then Tommy and Marie bring you here, and like, what's this experience been like for you? Because you've been up here. I mean, I've seen you multiple times up here now. So what is the draw for you to keep coming back up here with Rhea and Tommy and doing things like, building stairs and playing like, what is the draw for you for, here at Wolf Connection or for the Wolves in general? Like what is it for you?
I mean, it's so hard. It's funny when I post pictures of being up here of the Wolves, especially the amount of people that reach out and say, how do I go there? How do I be a part of this? It's crazy. And I think, and I say that because I think when you get to sit down with a wolf and pet a wolf, like, first of all, you're like, okay, wolves are like dogs, right? No, not even close. And then they open their mouths. You're like, oh, they could take off my arm. But they're so magical and mystical and beautiful creatures. You really do sense the wildness. Even though some of them have been domesticated, you sense that you don't sense in a dog or a cat or an animal that we would, have in our house. There's a connection there. And I know that's why it's called the Wolf Connection. But I always leave just feel like I kind of spoke to the wolves and they kind of spoke back to me. And maybe I was, there's times I've been up here where I was just going through it and depressed about all this stuff going on or, just anxious about something in life. And they just have this calming effect on you. And it really is real. I wish my pictures could do it justice, but that's why every time I come up, we try to spend some time with the wolves. And I think 2 or 3 times ago, I actually got to go in and spend some time with Ayasha. And then she I'm sitting, I'm kneeling and just seeing if she wants to hang. And I know she's cool, but she came up and gave me a kiss. And I was just like, oh man, this is so great. So that's and also just get out of the city. It could be simple. This is so beautiful up here. Just the ride through the mountains. Yeah. So yeah, many reasons why I come up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's great, and we appreciate the, your effort and the fact that you just come up here, and it's really great that you play for us and you do all these wonderful things. I mean, does any particular wolves, speak to you, or do you find any influences in any of the stuff you're producing now, or any of the music that you do?
Sure.
You draw back from here? Is that anything?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's just, you could see these wolves and how they've overcome a lot of obstacles in their lives. Some have been abused. What was the one? So this is kind of crazy. My first time up here, they had not the tarot cards, but the wolf readings.
Oh, the affirmation cards.
Yeah, affirmation cards. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're ending the night. It's the first gig up here. It's me and Casey, and he's like, "Go get an affirmation card." So I pull this card, and it says Mia, and I was like, "Okay." And then they read her attributes and her vibe. And Casey looked at me. He's like, "Dude, that's so you." Like it was just so spot on. And this craziest story is that Mia had an owner that I guess they were howling too much or something. He didn't want them to be heard. So he took out her vocal cords. Right. And here I am, a singer, and just feeling so grateful that I got to play for you guys that night and sing, and how lucky I am to be able to do that. That something's not wrong with my vocal cords, or that I have that ability. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but there's like a lot of gratitude for those animals and what they've been through. And I think you feel that if you especially be able to like pet them or just get near them, even if they're in the cage.
Yeah.
It's magical.
Yeah. I mean, we find that too with a lot of people, even if it's just like you said, it's just even the separation of between the fence and you,
Mm-hmm.
it's still that bond and that effect that I'll have on you. Because I mean, we've had people that come up here and they can't touch, or, some of the animals you can't touch,
Mm-hmm.
Mia especially. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're there and you just get sort of that vibe just for a
Mm-hmm.
look, and you're right. And it's totally awesome just to have that
Yeah.
experience. It's otherworldly in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Which
pretty
I
cool.
think I might be wrong about this, but we went on a walk a few months ago with Mia, and she came up and like kind of nip me and Tommy in the leg kind of thing, or in our arm when we're sitting down, which she had never done before. It's like pretty cool, that they're struggling to, like, to connect with you, and they overcome all this stuff. And I just feel like I've taken that from last Halloween, or 2 Halloweens ago. It just helped me kind of overcome my newness here and my insecurity here, my anxiety here. And just by visiting every few months or so, I would take that. I think I don't even, just talking about it now, I'm realizing it. I think I would take that back to, back to the city, and probably got me through a couple months at a time,
That's incredible.
Don't have a lot going on as far as like socialization. So that socialization with the wolves was really something I think that helped me through this year.
Man, that's awesome. That's great. I mean, that's great to hear, and it's great that it's impacted you in that way, in a positive way, and that it just keeps you coming back. And we love it. We love that you're here. Tell everybody. Well, I'll ask you the last. I mean, we always ask everybody here. So, and you kind of answered a little bit, but I'll just ask anyway. So, when you hear the word wolf, what's something that comes up for you when you hear that?
Now, heart and connection. Like, I just, you can sense it in them. That when I heard the word wolf before, I'd be like, oh, the wild creature in the mountains, and I think heart kind of gets us through many things, it supersedes talent, it supersedes connections, it supersedes depression, anxiety. If you have heart, you can get through anything. And I think that's what I think about with those wolves and how I connect.
Man, that's incredible. I love that. Tell everybody, I know we talked about this before, give everybody your Instagram so they can know. I know you're working on a couple of projects, but and where they can get your albums. You have 3 albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down in Flames, all the plans have changed, which after that was really that's pretty apropos for now. And then Sheltering Sky. So tell everybody where they can find those albums, and then where they can find the projects you're working on.
Yeah, so you can get those 3 solo records. Any iTunes, you can listen to them on Spotify, any platform. And then I just revamped my website. If people still go to websites, it's weshutchinsonmusic.com. And you see, my ad work there, commercial stuff, and artistry, and all the other side projects I have. And then, Instagram's just at Wesley G. Wesley G, because my middle name starts with a G.
So it's the G. Love it.
Some dude was like, Wesley Gee? I was like, no, damn it. Spreadable Gee? No, that has an H in it. So Wesley G. And I think that's kind of where I just, I'll post about, new singles being released. I have about probably like 5 to 10, side projects with other producers and writers. And I produce some, they produce some, I sing some, they sing some. So it's kind of all over the place. So, but I will, you can find all that information at Wesley G on Instagram.
Awesome. That's great. So before we go, Wes is actually going to play for us here. He'll sort of play us out of this episode. So Wes, thanks for coming and sharing some of your musical talent and your story. I love your story, man. We're happy to have you as part of our pack. And this is
I'm glad to be a part of the family, man.
Yeah,
and
man.
Everyone I've met too, and that's the other things. Like, the wolves for sure. But you guys, Teo, like I feel when I go up to the community house, I feel like I'm part of the family. Everybody knows who I am, so it's like a very welcoming event when I come up here. I don't feel that on a daily, especially now. But I love all you guys, and it's just a super, super good crew.
Yeah, no, we love it.
Warm
man.
crew.
No, that's what we need to do.
Well, I'll be back on Saturday to build some more stairs. So if you're around,
Nice.
we can do another interview of I know.
I know. We need stairs everywhere.
Yeah.
We need stairs everywhere. Exactly.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So how's to all of you out there? And Wes is gonna play. Is this are you just gonna play a song of yours?
Yeah.
So what's it?
Yeah. What's that all about? So I'm gonna play you a tune. I know this is one of Rhea and Tommy's favorites, so I want to play this. It's called Beautiful Life. This is off my second record, All the Plans Have Changed, and my good friend Nora Jones sings backgrounds. Good morning is what she said. Sweet candy before we get out of bed. And good loving to brighten up the day. Just a little something to get you on your way. It's a beautiful life when you love another, a beautiful life when you rediscover a pleasant surprise when you open your eyes and it feels like the first time. A beautiful life. Cool water is running over me, sweet sister. You bring me to my knees, and I'll keep dreaming of you and all that you do to me. It's a beautiful life when you love another, a beautiful life when you rediscover a pleasant surprise when you open your eyes and it feels like the first time. A beautiful life. A beautiful life. Yeah. Oh. Good morning is what she said. Sweet candy before we get out of bed. And good loving to brighten up the day. Yeah. A little something to get you on your way. It's a beautiful life when you love another. It's a beautiful life when you rediscover a pleasant surprise when you open your eyes and it feels like the first time. A beautiful life. A beautiful life. A beautiful life.
Looking to support Wolf Connection or sponsor one of the wolves in our pack? Just go to wolfconnection.org, click on the donate tab, and find out more information.